Hello all, welcome back to the BioRock channel. In this video today we are going to learn about the gastric glands, the glands that are present in your stomach in different parts like the fundus, the cardiac stomach and the pylorus stomach. Okay, these cardiac glands are called as, the gastric glands are being classified as cardiac glands, the pyloric glands and the fundic glands. We will see them in the detail, but before that, what I would like to introduce you is with this particular slide, which is the transverse section of your stomach. Okay, if you take a thin section of the stomach, as you all know that you have learned in your syllabi that we are going to see that the alimentary canal, especially from the esophagus to that of your anus, the alimentary canal is made up of 4 different layers. As you can see that we have a serosal layer. Okay, the outer, this blue colored one is a serosal layer. Next we have is a longitudinal muscle. Next one we have is a circular muscle layer and the oblique muscle. So togetherly this is muscularis which is being present. Okay, the longitudinal, the circular, the oblique muscles. Next we have is a submucosal layer, and later we have is a mucosal layer, the mucosal epithelium, which is going to actually have the mucosal cells that you can see. See, this is a mucosal epithelium. So if you take one particular section of these under the microscope and watch it, you can see that the topmost cells are going to be these mucus cells, which are going to secrete the mucus. Okay, children. So this is going to be this mucus. So we are taking one particular section under the microscope and just watch it. We are going to see that these are the mucus cells secreting the mucus. Later we have is the parietal cells. Okay, and besides this, you can see that the parietal cells actually they are going to secrete your hydrochloric acid and the intrinsic factors. We have the chief cells, which will be called as a zymogenic cells, which secrete your enzymes. And what else do we have? We have these special cells, which are being called as G cells, which are the gastroendocrinal cells, which will pour their secretions directly into the blood. So we call them as what we call them as the endocrinal cells, the G cells that you can see in between at the root part of this particular epithelium. So these all are going to be the infolds of the epithelium, right? The epithelium of the intestine is getting folded out to form these structures. These are actually the gastric glands. And children, what I'll do is I'll discuss this topic in detail with you all, point wise, such that this will help you in further your boards as well as the NEET examinations. So let me carry forward this by explaining you all these glands one by one in the detail. Okay. So the first thing is what I will do is I'll give you the classification of these gastric glands. So what we are seeing here is all about the gastric glands. And we classify the gastric glands into the 3 different types. We call them as the cardiac glands. Okay. The next we are going to have is the pyloric glands. Pyloric glands. And the next one we are going to have is the fundic glands. Okay. These are the ones. And if you look at the predominant function of the cardiac glands is they are going to secrete mucus. Pyloric glands are also going to secrete the mucus. So they both are going to be protective in function. Okay, they are protective in function from the hydrochloric action. And next one that you can see is we will see that the fundic glands actually are being comprised of different types of cells here. So what are those different types of cells? Let us watch these. So these are the different sorts of these cells present. Let me give you the details of these. So the first thing that you can see that are present here in the fundic glands, the component cells here are the chief cells. The chief cells are also being called as zymogenic cells because they are secreting the enzymes. Nextly, what we're going to have is the parietal cells, which are being called as oxyntic cells. Okay, and next one we are going to have is the goblet cells, the mucus cells that you could see in the slide. And next we are going to have is gastroendocrinal cells called as urgent-taffin cells, which can also be seen in the small intestine, the urgent-taffin cells. Even in the intestinal glands also we can see the presence of urgent-taffin cells. So now we'll speak about each and every of these cell secretions. So as I told you, these are going to pour the enzyme. So it is going to be the prorenin enzyme, which is an inactive enzyme, which has to be converted into an active form, which is being called as renin. This will be done under the what you call as presence of an enzyme, and that enzyme is going to be none. That is, it is going to be converted under the presence of hydrochloric acid. The conversion of the prorenin into the active form like renin is going to be under the action of hydrochloric acid. Besides this, they're going to even secrete the pepsinogen. This is also an inactive enzyme, should be converted into an active form, which is being called as pepsin. So this is also done under the influence of hydrochloric acid. Both of them are converted into active form under the acidic media or acidic presence. Besides these, they are also going to secrete the gastric lipase. As you could see that even we have a salivary lipase, right? Even in the saliva, we could see the presence of the lipase. So we call here this as a gastric lipase. Okay, children. And remember, even your renin can be called as chymosin. We call this as chymosin also. Now, coming on to the parietal cells. Okay, what does the parietal cells do? So, if you look at the parietal cells here, these parietal cells can also be called as what? Called as oxyntic cells. They are secreting the hydrochloric acid as well as the intrinsic factor. So, IF stands for the intrinsic factor. This is intrinsic factor. So you could see the action of the hydrochloric acid on these prorenin as well as the pepsinogen, which are the inactive forms. It could convert them into the what we call as the active forms. Okay. Now I'll take the details of each of them individually. And just remember that goblet cells are going to secrete what? They're going to secrete the mucus. So this is protective in function. And these urgent taffin cells are going to be gastroendocrinal cells. They are going to pour their secretions directly into the blood. So I'll take one of the cells first. So let me take the parietal cells first here. So I'm taking the parietal cells, which are also called as what? Oxyntic cells. The first function is to secrete the hydrochloric acid. So it is going to secrete what? Hydrochloric acid. So what will be the pH of the hydrochloric acid which is being secreted in our stomach? It is going to be approximately between the pH of the hydrochloric acid is going to be approximately in between 1.5 to 2.5. So it is surely acidic in nature. Okay, this is important. And the next thing is it is going to, the functions, if you're going to look at, it is going to convert the inactive enzymes like what are those? Prorenin as well as your pepsinogen into the active form, right? So what are the active forms? Let me take another ink. So the active forms will be the renin and this will be the pepsin. So this is a function of the hydrochloric acid that you can see. And it is also trying to acidify, right? It is going to acidify the food. So we are trying to acidify the food here and we are stopping the action thereby what do we do? The hydrochloric acid stops the function of whom? The ptyalin that we have seen, the salivary amylase, the ptyalin enzyme function is going to be stopped here once the food is going to turn acidic. And what else does it do? It is going to kill the microbes, right? So this, and it is going to kill microbes, if at all present in your bolus. Okay, so these are being killed. And next thing is that you can see that if you look at the intrinsic factor. So let me first give you about the intrinsic factor. So the intrinsic factor here is also called as a Castle intrinsic factor, we are going to call. And remember children, this is going to help in the absorption of your vitamin B12, absorption of vitamin B12. Usually we see that people who consume lot of refined flour and the wheat flour, which has lots of gluten, they are going to coat up your stomach, and due to which what happens is the production of the intrinsic factor, because these all are the cells of the epithelium of your stomach, right? And if your epithelium is going to be coated, how come the intrinsic factor is going to be poured into the cavity? It can't be poured. So if there is no intrinsic factor, there is no absorption of vitamin B12. And such people suffer with the deficiency of vitamin B12. This is another important thing that you need to understand. Okay. So that is a function of the intrinsic factor, children, here. And nextly that we are going to see is we are going to have the next one. We couldn't see the chief cells, so let me take the chief cells now. So the second category of cells that we are going to see is chief cells, or we call them as what? We call them as zymogenic cells. So these are secreting the prorenin, that we could see that under the action of the hydrochloric acid, it is getting converted into renin. And what does this renin do? So this renin, what it does is it is going to actually work on the coagulation of milk. It brings about the coagulation of milk. Okay, coagulation of the milk. And nextly, you can see that we had this pepsinogen, right? We could see the pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is also converted by the action of hydrochloric acid into pepsin. And what does pepsin bring? It brings about the protein digestion, children. So we can see that it changes the proteins into the form of peptones. So this is being done under the action of whom? Pepsin, right? So pepsin, what it is trying to do is it is trying to convert the proteins into peptones, and the renin is going to bring about the coagulation of the milk. These are all the different functions of the secretions done by the zymogenic cells. Okay, and next one that we could see was it is a presence of gastric lipase, right? So lipase is going to act on fats, is going to act upon the fats, and it brings about the digestion of the fats here, but not in total. Okay, it's going to be just the start of the what you call is digestion of the fats here. So these are the chief cells. Next we could see that pre-parietal oxyntic cells. We could see the next one we have is a goblet, which is going to secrete obviously the mucus, and this mucus is going to be protective in function against the hydrochloric action, children. This is very important. And remember, the last cells I told you, these argentaffin cells. So these will be the type of cells which are pouring their secretions directly into the blood. So that we are learning here are going to be the argentaffin cells. What are those argentaffin cells here, children? I told you in the slide I have shown you the G cells, right? So these G cells are going to secrete what? They are going to secrete the gastrin. I told you the argentaffin cells are being found in the what you call is gastric gland epithelium. That is a epithelium of your stomach, as well as we can even find them in the intestinal glands also. These are also being found in the intestinal glands. And these are actually what? These are actually the gastroendocrinal cells. Gastroendocrinal cells, children. So now this becomes important for us to learn about these cells. And remember that these are being present mostly in the basal part, as you could see in the location, right? I have shown you in the slide that they are present at the base. And besides this, children, these ones actually the gastroendocrinal cells, they're going to pour their secretions. What are their secretions are? Let me write these for you. The secretions of these argentafin cells. The secretions of the argentafin cells are the number one is going to be the gastrin. Okay, and the next one that we are going to see is being called as the secretin we are going to have. And the next one we are going to have is cholecystokinin we are going to have cholecystokinin. These are the three different secretions of your endocrinal cells of your stomach wall. Okay, and coming on to these are directly released into the blood vessels, and they're going to actually control the secretion of the digestive enzymes. So these are directly playing a role in what? Controlling in controlling the secretions of controlling the secretions of digestive system. Okay, children. This is very important again to remember. So what I'll do is I'll give you in detail what are all these cells trying to pour up. Okay, where are they being found? That is also very important for us. So obviously you can expect some questions from this topic in the NEET examination. So coming on to the gastrin, children. So gastrin is actually present in the epithelium of the stomach, as you could see in the slide, right? So this is seen in the epithelium of the stomach. Their even location is important. And next thing what they do is they secrete a hormone. Which is that hormone that they are going to secrete? It's going to be the epithelium of stomach. That is going to be whom? The gastrin, right? Who is secreting these? The argentafin, G cells of the stomach. So it is going to be the gastrin. The epithelium of stomach is secreting gastrin. Already I have written here. So there is no need to write the hormone section once again, children. So the G cells are secreting the gastrin, and the G cells are being present in the epithelium of the stomach here. And if you look at the function of this particular gastrin, what is the function is, what it does is it is going to stimulate, what it does is it is going to stimulate the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin secretion. Okay, it is going to stimulate the hydrochloric acid as well as the pepsin secretion. Pepsin secretion. And even what it does is, this is going to increase the gastric motility, the movement. Okay, the gastric motility is going to increase, the churning, the movement, the muscularis layer, that is going to be increased by the gastrin. And next thing that we can see, as you can see on your screen, is going to be what? It's going to be your secretin. So where is secretin present? It is being present in it is secreted by the argentafin cells. Okay, and these are being present in the epithelium. These cells which are secreting the secretin are present in the epithelium of your duodenum. They are present in the duodenum. So the cells which are secreting these are being present in the epithelium of duodenum, children. And coming on to the function here is the secretin is going to actually it is going to increase the amount of the bicarbonates, as well as it is going to what it does is even the pancreatic juice it stimulates. So it is stimulating the it stimulates the pouring of pancreatic juice. It is going to stimulate the pouring of pancreatic juice. Okay, and what it is going to do is it increases the amount of the bicarbonates. It is increasing the amount of the bicarbonates here, as well as even the biliary water. Okay, the amount of the water present in your bile juice, that is also going to be increased by them. That is your secretin. And lastly, that we are having the cholecystokinin. This is poured by the endocrinal cells which are lining your epithelium of the duodenum again. So the cells present in the epithelium of the duodenum are the ones which are secreting the cholecystokinin. And what the cholecystokinin does is it brings about the contraction of the gallbladder. So if someone is going to contract the gallbladder, it is going to be involved in pouring of the bile juice, right? So it is going to help, that is, it is going to bring about the contraction of the gallbladder and pouring of the bile juice. So this is most important thing that you need to remember for your examination, and you need to know about the locations of these. As you could see that gastrin is secreted by the cells lining the epithelium of stomach. The secretin is being poured by the cells of the epithelium of your duodenum. Okay, these are the ones that need to be understood by you all children. And remember, as I told you, that the urgent paffin cells are even seen in the intestinal glands also. Okay, we are seeing their location in the gastric glands, as well as we are seeing them in the even in the intestinal glands also. So these are the gastroendocrinal cells, which is utmost important topic for us. Okay, you can expect some questions from this topic of your need. Okay, children, so let me see whether I have covered up all these cells. Yes, we have gone through the chief cells, we have gone through the parietal cells, we have gone through the goblet cells, mucus production, and the urgent pattern endocrinal cells, and the pylori glands pouring the mucus, so it is protective in function, and the cardiac glands pouring up the mucus, which is also protective in function. So this is all about the gastric glands present in the stomach. Okay, so next video, what I'll do is I'll make a special video on the stomach to show you the areas of the stomach, okay, such that you can correlate it with these glands properly, and try to get the what you call is more information regarding their location and how what is their action. So for that, I'll be making a video for the stomach. I'll be talking about that. As you can see, the cardiac, the pyloric, and the fundus part, and what are their what you call is functions, how are they present, what are the layers. Once again, that we spoke over here about the microanatomy. We spoke about the layers like serosa, muscularis, the submucosa, the mucosa, but we will talk in a little bit detail about those, as that you can expect in your board examinations also. So before I end up, children, once again, let me show you these slides what I have with me, such that your knowledge about the gastric glands, yeah, is going to be good enough. So the serosal, the muscularis layer, the submucosal layer, and the mucosal layer. You can see the mucus cells, the parietal cells, the chief cells, the G cells, which are all the different types of cells found in the gastric glands, which are pouring their secretions. Children, if you have liked the video and this has helped you all, please do hit the like button and try to share my channel and subscribe my channel. Thank you all. Thank you.